Hey, it's Don here from the board. Welcome to another video. So in this video, I want to talk about and explain and show a couple of different things that we have in the keyboard community that are really fantastic resources for creating custom keyboards. Now, I've been in this community now for about 2 years. If you have a look at my Reddit account, it's really only been a year or so old, but that's because I was lurking for quite a while. However, in the last 12 months or so, I've been much more active, and I've learnt a lot more by being active, and I want to share with you some of these things that I've come across. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about, in terms of creating custom keyboards, custom keycap sets, as well as actually making a full-blown keyboard if that is something that you're really interested in. So, you might see quite often on mechanical keyboards or on Geekhack that there are these interest checks and group bys for really fantastic looking key sets. We're talking about things like, Chocolatier, we're talking about Goodspeed, Pulse, recently Dasher and Dancer, GMK Hydro, and all of that kind of stuff. And there are some really good resources out there that can help you get into creating your own custom sets that will allow you to run interest checks and then group bys if there's a particular color scheme or design that you like that you haven't seen to have come out yet. So let's get straight into it. Now I'm going to switch over the camera and screens to my web browser because pretty much most of these resources are online, which makes it easy, and I'll provide the links in the description of the video below as well. So I'm just going to switch off the camera on me, and then let's switch off my desktop and let's go onto the screen. So that's first of all, let's start off at Keycap Designers. Now this is a subreddit that exists for the purposes of showing off and getting feedback on actually designing keycap sets. Now you'll see it's quite a small subreddit, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, because there's only 1,642 subscribers. Not quite sure who the other person is, since I'm obviously one of the two, but as you can see on the sticky, there's a guide straight up on the top about how to run interest checks and then getting your keycap set to the actual buy stage. So as we scroll down, you'll see there's a whole bunch of different posts here when people are throwing out ideas. They want feedback on what works, what doesn't work, colors. We're talking about novelties and so forth. I'll just expand it out, and you can sort of see people are putting down layouts and renders and different sort of color schemes that are available that they're tossing up between. And you'll notice that the large majority of these have a very similar layout and look. If you've been hanging around on RMK for a while, you'll notice people talk about this and they'll put up layouts of, what do you think of this layout? What do you think of this, key layout on a programmable keyboard and so forth? And the graphics that you'll normally see will look very much like this or like this. And what you're actually seeing is a bit of online software which is referred to commonly as KLE, also known as the Keyboard Layout Editor. So just before we get to the KLE site, I'm just going to shrink that down. Make sure that if you are interested in creating a keycap set or running an interest check group by, to check out this subreddit. Now, I'm a member here, but obviously I'm not a mod or anything like that. There are some guidelines and whatnot, so yeah, swing on by. Now let's move on to the next tab, which is KLE, the Keyboard Layout Editor. This is a fantastic tool for not only creating custom keycap sets, but also custom layouts for programming purposes and creating your own custom keyboard. This is the default landing page. It is something that is connected with GitHub, so if you have a GitHub account, you can always log in, sign in, and that will allow you to save layouts and so forth that you've designed and created. And how this works is you have an array of keys that you can add, change, move. You can color them, and you can also create all sorts of funky layouts. Up the top here, you'll see that there's a preset button. So you can click that and it gives you the drop down menu of some very standard common layouts. So we'll just check out the ANSI 104 and there you go. There's a standard full 100% keyboard with the ANSI enter. But if you're over in Europe or UK and you prefer to have your big ass enter, there's the big ass enter. And a lot of people will be going off with the default 60 as a starting point as well. Now, using the mouse, you can grab and you can highlight, you can use the shift as well to select entire blocks and control to add and remove blocks within, as you can see. And what this allows you to do is, using your arrow keys, for example, you can physically shift them however you like. And this allows you to create different layouts, allows you to create different designs, as well as for when you're graphically laying out particular color schemes for different sets, such as modifiers, novelties, compatibility packs for things like plank and so forth. So that allows you to physical change. When you select a key, and down here below in this block, the properties lets you put in all sorts of fun and games. So we can change the size of the legends, so you can have an idea of what the size will look like, where it sits. You can put stuff into the middle if you want. You can change the actual color of the legend itself. You can change the color of the keycap, and then you can play around. So if you know the hex or web color for it, you can put that in. And it also has this fantastic swap around, which means you can do exactly the same color on your alphas and then do the reverse swap onto your mods or vice versa. Down here, it allows you to change the actual size of the key, so it tells you that's a 225, and then if you want to, you can make it bigger or smaller for whatever layout that you want. And then the XY is actually its relative position. So if you were to move that key, you'll notice down below the X and Y shifts accordingly. So it's just a Cartesian plane that gives you reference points as well. Now, along here, you've got a couple of different tabs. You've got the properties, which you can put in descriptions of, who created it, and some notes. Custom styles, I'm not quite sure what's up with that. I haven't really used it. But the raw data tab is really what you want for creating custom cases with. And I'll get to that very shortly. The summary tells you the total number of keys according to their sizes, as well as different colors. And then tools allows you to do some sort of blanket bulk work, so you can highlight all of these and you can go, all right, I'm going to take off all the alphas. Oh, the alphas are gone. And then I'll take off all the punctuation. That's all gone. And it allows you to also, for example, over here, the shift, the legend is up in the top corner here, but I want to move it down to the bottom corner, and there it is. Okay? Now, if you're creating a keycap set, there is a lot of different layouts that exist. It's quite tricky to sometimes figure out or know what you're trying to make your keycaps compatible with. And up here, Living Speed Bump last year put a post on Massdrop, which has been fantastic. And it's very extensive. It's had a lot of feedback from different people, which has allowed them to tweak and adjust the actual layouts. But it essentially runs through, just waiting for it to load. Well, we'll just skip straight over the top of that, and you'll see there's 40% keyboards for JD, 40, 45s, Minivan, Minorca, Plank. Then you've got your 60%ers, Philco, the Barocco, the Prionic. You've got 65s. You got the Leopolds, the Rama, 75%. And as you can see, it's quite extensive in that way. Now, it is missing, for example, ergodox in it, but what you can always do is, because KLE has ergodox in it, we're just going to nav away from that. You can use this and just go, well, I only need to know what these particular unique modifiers are, so I can actually highlight all of those and, oh look, goodbye. So, and then that will allow you to set up your color scheme if it is going to be unique for the ergodox mods only. And you'll see this kind of image is quite common even, say, on Pimp My Keyboards when they've got the ergodox sets. like you might have seen on my other video on the DSA Borealis that I showed. So that's what these tools are for mocking up and creating a very simple web color approach on what a keycap set is. And then once you get to that stage, if you're happy with it and you put it out onto an interest check, you can also get renders done. And there are people out there in the community that will do renders, like Zabumon, who's done Nautilus. He's done the Amazing Chocolatier, so he's got some fantastic rendering skills. They do charge a fee for it, so you do have to be aware of that. But I think if you're quite passionate about your set and you want it to have the best chance, it is certainly worth the effort. So now you've got a keycap set, maybe you want to take your design a little further. And what you can do is you can create your own case based upon your keycap set. Now, I'm just going to set this back to a standard 60 just for simple purposes, and I'm going to go back over to my raw data tab that I said was pretty important earlier. Now, this raw data is basically a breakdown of the layout of a keyboard in a raw data set form. So you can see it tells you, that's what the legends actually say, and then there's particular cap sizes as well, and just the rows involved in the keyboard. So if you want to create a custom case, what you want to start off with is you want to copy that data. So we're just going to copy that. Well, just copy that. And there's this website called the Plate and Case Builder, builder.swirlkv.com. And this generates files for you to create plates as well as sandwich style cases. Now, if sandwich style cases aren't your thing, you can still use the CAD files that are generated from this to create a solid case. It just takes a little bit more work on the CAD side, which I'm not going to get into. But the first thing is you want to drop your plate layout. And so in this area up here, that's where you're going to paste that raw data you've taken from the KLE output. Then down here, you've got a series of different options. So do you want the most simple cutout, which is the MX? Do you want something that's going to be MX and compatible with ALPS? Do you want the MX that has switch top removal, or do you just want plain ALPS? So we're going to go with the switch top removal, so you can change springs, stems, and lube them. Now, what kind of stabilizer do you want? Well, we don't want any stabilizers because it might be like a macro pad, or do you want the option for your users to have both Cherry and CoStar, Cherry only, ALPS only, or the CoStar fallback, which is designed for the ALPS? Most people, they'll probably go for Cherry and CoStar just for a bit of flexibility. But if you're getting this laser cut, you do have to remember that laser cut usually charges by time. So the more complicated the cuts are, the longer it takes, which means the more expensive it's going to be. Which is, if you go with that design, it'll be cheaper compared to the extra cuts that it has to do for the switch removal. Case type. Well, if you say none, it's just going to create you a plate. If you want a case, then you have the choice of the poker style 60%er, which is a sort of standard default here, and then you've also got sandwich. But let's go with the sandwich style, only because it gives you a couple more options. USB, it tells you, alright, where do you want to stick the actual port out the back? The number of mount holes, well, let's go with 8 mount holes. They're going to be 3mm in diameter, and we're going to go with a 5mm edge. We're going to have some padding. We'll give it an 8mm, nice fat bevels everywhere. No, I don't want 78mm. Plate corners. Let's give them a radius of 2mm so they're nice and rounded. And the kerf is going to be 0.2 of a mil for the cutting. Now I'm going to leave line cutter, but some laser places will tell you, for example, they want red for one type of cutting, they want blue for engraving, and black for, notation, etc., etc. Depends on the company, depends on the software they're using. So if you do have line colors, you can just pop that in. Once you've got all that sorted and set up, draw my CAD. Oh, no, didn't like that. Let's go with the zeros. There we go. Alright, so it's doing its thing. And very soon, there we go. So check it out. On the top layer, you've got simple plate. There's your switch layer. You'll notice that it's got the cutout design that we requested, and it's got stabilizer mounts that are going to suit both the Cherry and the Co-Star type. There's an open layer, so that's actually where the USB was, but because I set it to 0 and 0, it recommends 10mm default for the gap. I've set it to 0, which is why it's just a single slit there, and 0 in terms of its XY orientation. And you'll notice also that they've got 8 holes evenly split around the outside. That's the closed layer for the other sandwich layers that doesn't have the USB port. And then there's the bottom layer with the screw holes. So it outputs to 3 different formats, the SVG, the DXF, and the EPS, depending on what software you're using. So I think Inkscape takes the SVG and DXF, whereas Adobe style products takes the EPS. Now I use sort of CAD software, and I prefer to use the DXF rather than the SVG, but it takes a bit of manipulation for me to do as well afterwards. But this output straight away, you can just save the files, convert it into whatever your laser cut company is, and for example they have a deal here with Laserdisc, so you could just go straight over to Laserdisc and order it, and once it comes in you can start assembling if you have a PCB. Now if you don't have a PCB, you can still do this for a hand-wired build, but you just have to make sure that your switch layer, because that's where it's going to be mounted, is going to be thick enough and strong enough, depending on the material that you're cutting it from, to support your keys and your keystrokes. Otherwise you will get a lot of flex, and you probably don't want that. Now if you're working on the idea of building a completely custom keyboard or macro pad or whatever it is, and you don't want a hand wire, you can also create your own PCB. And here is the PCB guide. Now this was only released a couple of days ago. I saw it, I read through it, and I loved it, and I bookmarked it. Now I don't know when I'm going to have the time to do this, but it's always a great resource to have regardless, because it means I can share it with everybody out there like you, new people who are looking for it. And I believe this has also been added into the RMK wiki, so you can always find it in there. Now this is very extensive. It runs through the whole process of setting up your libraries, giving you keystrokes, designing, your power lines, having the right components, setting up for, your actual processor, how you lay out your key switch wiring lines, and so forth. And it keeps going and going and going. And look, there's some really cool sort of circuitry PCB design pictures. Size of the actual switches, laying out, microcontrollers. Get down there and doing kerfs. Then you start putting the actual connections through to where you want them to go. And then it even produces a 3D render of what your PCB might look like. So this is just a 4-switch, a 2x2 that has the controller there, and it's got SMD components as well. So once you save your files and export them and whatnot, you can shoot them off to a whole bunch of different PCB manufacturers and create your own PCB. And obviously you can run interest checks and group buys on them as well, sell them from your own shop, or if you want them to be completely unique, just do a single run, solder all the components yourself, and bam, Bob's your uncle. So that's just a couple of different resources out there that really can be great for helping you along in making a custom set of keycaps in terms of color, in terms of layout. It's also, for example, the KLE is good for working on different layers. So what you can do is you can say, well, all my alphas, I'm just going to select all of those, go to my tools, and I'm going to blitz out all those alphas. Take them all off, go back to my properties, and then up here I'm going to say, alright, on my second layer it's going to be, I don't know, whatever it is, home, and then over there it's going to be my page up. Ooh. Mistake that I didn't change the keys. So, something like that, and then you can either save it, you can print it off, and that way you can have like a handy billy that you can be used as a reference card. And I guess if you scale these, you could probably even print them out and put them inside re-legendable caps too, if you like. So yeah, handy little resources here and there. That's pretty much it for the couple of tools and tabs that I wanted to show. So there's Keycap Designers. Now if we just have a bit of shameless plugging. So for example, 5 months ago I wanted to play around with a particular output because I work in defense with Navy and with the Australian Navy, and these are actually the colors that are used for our ships now. They've actually changed color schemes from the old grey, which was the storm grey, to the new grey, which is the haze grey. And it's actually a decision that they made because it reflects the weather patterns in our waters and the spaces that we operate in, rather than the Americans, which is where our original paint scheme was derived from. So I thought it'd be cool to create it, and it actually looks really nifty to me. I quite like it, and in terms of novelties, it was just a simple, a launch button and an evac. But none of the manufacturers have these colors as their default colors, which means if I wanted to actually make this come to life, I'd have to pay for custom colors, which not only bumps up the cost significantly, but it also means the MOQs are slightly different in a sense, and it does make it harder if you don't get a lot of attention for it. So I then did the same mock-up, but then I tried to match it to the closest available colors from Signature Plastics PBT range originally was what I did, but then I was told you can't do lights on darks on PBT, so that pretty much was a little bit upsetting. But it's just a quick example of what you can do to play around with the different colors to see how the layout looks and feels. Now of course, if you do see this video and you like this color scheme and you'd love to maybe bring this back to life and support me in an interest check, that would be fantastic, but I'm certainly not holding my breath. So Keycap Designers, make sure you check it out if you're interested in making your own keycap sets. Keyboard layout editor for creating these sets, colors, custom layouts, custom keyboards. The physical keyboard layout editor, layouts explained in detail to have a better understanding of the keys that are required and the layouts that exist if you want compatibility for any key sets that you make. If you want to make your own plate and case, and then also if you want to create your own PCBs. Okay, that pretty much concludes the video. Oh, sorry about the my ceiling light there reflecting on my sign. Now, at the time of making this video, just on a couple of random things to finish off for those who are actually subscribed and regular viewers, today was the Signature Plastics grab bag sale that happened. Today's the 19th in Australia, but it was the 18th of January for the US, and it was a 2 p.m. sale, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get online and actually try and nab one of the bags, and I did. So put it through, and then suddenly everyone said they're sold out, and I thought, what? Last time it took 16 minutes to sell out the bags that they had, and Melissa from Signature Plastics said it was 300 grab bags in 80 seconds. Gone. So I'm very thankful that I managed to get one. What I do intend to do when I get my grab bag is I'll do another video, and it's going to be essentially a quick rummage and sort through of the bag. I don't know how many I'm actually going to be able to fit on my table space here, but we'll see how we go. And I think it'll be an interesting experience. I've never had a grab bag before. I've seen plenty of them on RMK. I'm hoping I'm actually going to get enough DSA keycaps in it to complete my ghetto docs, especially if they got alphas. If I don't, then at least maybe I'll get some cool keycaps in there that I can use to trade, swap, sell even, to create and complete my ghetto docs. So I look forward to getting that, and then I also look forward to being able to put up another video for you guys to watch and enjoy. Now, if you like this video and the content that we put out so far, please hit the like button, and if you're new to our channel and you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you could subscribe to our channel as well. Helps us, keeps us visible, and it means you get to keep up to date with all of our new content. And if you also unaware, we do have our podcast series, The Board. You can find us on www.theboardpodcast.com, or keep your eyes out on the Reddit subreddit, Mechanical Keyboards, for when we post our episodes and interviews. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to catch you again next time. And until next time, happy clacking.